Your boss says, right, that's great. We now have a list of all of the employees who have no transactions in the table transaction. But actually what I want is all those employees who didn't make any transactions in 2014. And you go, oh, well, I could do a derived query here, or I could use this with and put it out here. And either way is fine. So I'm going to do a with a CTE up here. So I'm going to say this is transactions to 2014 as select star from table transaction where the date of transaction is greater than or equal to 2014-0101 and data transaction is less than 2015-0101, not inclusive. And then we join transactions 2014 as T. And here we go. There's a wider list. We now have 406 rows. Then your boss goes, that's great. But I don't want 406 rows. I mean, look at this. We have 172, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77. What I want these to be done is grouped together so I just see one line saying 172 to 177. This is when you go, don't know how to do that. Help. Okay. So this is a solution. What we need to do is we need to classify each of these to be in a certain group. So here is one group, 172 through 177. So what makes a group? A group is where there is a gap of more than one between the current number and the last number. And there is a gap of more than one between the current number and the next number. So how are we going to do that? Well, we can use, have you thought? Lag. So let's get the lag of the row number. And I put that in the wrong place. It needs to be the select clause. I always like to put it the from on a new line. So we put the lag as the row number as the previous row number, and the lead of row number as the next row number. Now we need an over clause for each of these. So what over clause do we need for lag and lead? We need an order by. Okay, so over order by row number and over order by row number. So now let's see where we are. So we now have the previous one and the next one. So if we take away one from the other, we'll find the gap. So row number minus that and the lead minus the row number. So these give us the gaps. So if I go down to this example we were looking at earlier, we'll see there is a gap of 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, showing all of these plus the next one, all in the same group. Okay, so how do we take advantage of this? Well, let's have another column. Now, what I want is a 1 when it's the start of a new group in a new column, and then a 0 where it's part of the old group. So let's add a new column with 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. You'll see where I'm going, don't worry. So how do we test if this number is equal to 1 or not? Can you remember anything that we can use for testing? We could use if, we could use case. So let's use case. Case when all of this lot, what I'm calling the previous row, is equal to 1, then 0, else 1. End as group gap, let's call that. Okay, so what am I doing? So we now have the start of the group defined. Okay, Now what can I do? Well, why don't I now give the entire group the same number? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put all of this into another width. So you can keep building up these widths. It can get quite complicated. So don't worry if you're not following all of this. I'm just trying to show possibilities rather than things that will definitely come up in the exam. I'm sure this probably won't. This is fairly high level, but let's just have a look. So we're calling this an intermediate table. So let's call this a gap table. Table gap as all of that. So now we can say select star from table gap, but we don't want to do that. No, that's a good start. That's not an end. I just need to get rid of this u dot because it's now just row number. Right, so what I want to do is to add up the totality of these gaps. How do you add up the totality of the gaps? Use sum with the over command. So sum of group gap order by row number. So sum of group gap over order by row number. And that is the group. Let's call it the group. Okay, so now let's see where we are. Now we have all of these grouped together. They all have the same number. So here we can see 172, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 all have the same group number. Okay, so I'm going to put that as another intermediary table. So we call that group, table group as. So select star from table group. So now what we need is the lowest, the start of this group and the end of this group. Any idea how we're going to do that? Well, we could just use the group min row number max row number group by the group. So this is the starting employee number and the ending employee number. And now we're ordering not by row number, but by the group. So let's see what we've got. So now, if you have a look at this, we've got on one line 172 to 177. We've got what we wanted. It groups 2 to 2, 5 to 5, 7 to 7, 9 to 10, and so forth. Now we can hide the group from the ending results. And there we are. We now have, instead of all those 400 and odd rows, 268 rows. And if we want to know how many employees are on a particular row, then we can subtract the maximum from the minimum and add 1. Like that. So you can clearly see there are 2 employees here, 3 employees there, and if you go down, 6 employees in that group. Now, don't be worried if you've not followed any of this or all of this. Have a look at this in the Word document where I keep all of these sessions so you can follow it to your heart's content, slowly as you like. But hopefully this has shown some of the uses of row number, lag, lead, looking at is null and joins, and sum using over, and min and max. You can see how powerful it is. The only thing that is stopping you from using all of this like this is your imagination. So you just have to work out how things can be used. Just maybe go outside the box and think, I'll group these together by giving the same group number. How do I do that? And then you've got your answer. Right, End of the exercise. Let's move on.